everybody, and welcome back. This is Sam SolBright, and I have my beautiful soul sister co-hosting the show with me on the Love and Science channel, lovely Jenny. So we're going to be talking about, we'll start talking about detaching from 3D through physical movement, through traveling, through relocating. We'll share a little bit about our process, share a little bit about our experiences, and then technically we'll go with the flow. So wherever we're meant to go, we'll just talk and share to support you guys in your own journey. So thank you for being here with me, Jenny.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So who shall start? I feel like we both have a lot of neat things to share, because even the other day we were talking and it was like we kind of saw a lot of similarities on our journey. And so I guess I'll start with me. And mind you, like this didn't really happen overnight for me. It took a lot of years to get to that space where you are guided to physically move, whether it's just, so like for me at the beginning, it was just like, go to a sacred site or spend more time in nature, be outside more. And so my partner at the time started traveling. So we started traveling to all of these different places, which activated us into, shortly right after moving completely out of the city. And so we ended up in North Minnesota, surrounded by nature in like a rural town. And kind of looking back at that now, it was super, super important to disconnect physically from the city, from what was going on, from all the chaos that was going on at the moment. It got too much. Like we got to a space where like we felt it. There were things going on around, like in the environment, in the community, whatever the case may be. And it was just kind of like this push that we were like told, like, you got to get out. Like you have to physically move yourself out of the city, out of the density of the city, all the fear and all the stuff that was going on. We felt it. It was pretty intense at times. And so we kind of waited until everything kind of got realigned for us. And when we got the green light, the window, it was just like, we just left, we went, didn't have like a lot of even time to think about. It was like within 2-3 weeks, we're like, okay, we're leaving. Let's go. Like, let's start selling. Let's start like, donating. Let's just whatever, throw away, purge, whatever the case may be. Rented a car and we just pretty much filled our whole entire, like our belongings in one car and took, drove off and drove to this completely opposite end of the country. And it felt really significant, even though maybe at the time it was like we just knew that we needed to leave. Basically, we didn't really see beyond that. We just kind of felt inside that it was like, it's time. We have to like physically disconnect ourselves from the density, from the big city. And so we had a little traveling adventures, as you have been too. So definitely want you to share a little bit about that. And then for me personally, it's been for 6 months, it was like anchoring outside of the city, detangling, detaching, uncording, whatever the case may be. And so it activated me though to where I know I'm meant to go back to rural. Like I know that kind of me going back to the city is a very, very temporary, like, okay, I have to go back inside, work through some more stuff, whatever the case may be. But I already feel the pull of like nature site, rural town and stuff like that. But again, it feels like a lot of people are going through this right now. A lot of people are moving, a lot of people are relocating, a lot of people are traveling right now. And it is really important, a really important part of the process to continuously detach from the cities, from the systems, from whatever the case may be. So I guess I'll pass it on to you with your personal experience and how you were called and how that kind of played out for you in the like physically leaving, the city energy per se.
I felt the call to move probably about a year ago. It was me and my children. They're teenagers, so once I felt that, I put my house up for sale. Packed up and donated and got prepared. We got prepared in a very short amount of time because we've actually been on the road for over 10 months now. So we typically will visit one location for at least a month to a couple months at a time. So far is how it's been. At first, it was a little difficult on me making the decision to pull the kids out of like regular 3D school or traditional schooling. But I knew I was making the right choice. I knew that with everything going on, I was going to be doing a much better job with my children and teaching my children how the world works than they could learn in school. I know that's still very important aspects to maneuver. But this way they're doing a world schooling and learn as we go. And, they ask a lot of questions and we meet new people along our path. And so far it's been wonderful. A couple of hiccups in the beginning, but nothing big. We've had a wonderful time uniting as a family and getting close, as a unit, three of us. The kids, they do great together. And it's been a really cool adventure. I love it.
Have you been able to, can you feel the difference between being in the city and being out in the city and traveling and being out without that pull?
Feel, you can totally feel the difference. It's almost a restriction when you're in the city or when you're in a more populated area. It almost feels a little more restricted and breathing is even different. So now, going nature sites and, sacred sites with breathing is, you can just breathe and expand. And there's nobody to tell you, what time to wake up or what time to eat lunch or anything like that. So it's been really nice, just kind of going, listening to our bodies and listening to each other. Big part of it, my children are my guides and wouldn't have it any other way.
You said something really, really interesting that I don't think when we're in it, we don't know how programmed we are. So like right now, when you said, we literally have our own schedule, eating or sleeping, like there's so much freedom in that. And when we're in it, when we're in the system, when we're in this highly dense populated areas, we don't recognize how programmed we are to like follow the 3D system, 3D 4D system of like eating at a certain time, eating certain foods, sleeping at certain times, doing certain things, this goes deep into like following the system from like when you're young, go to school, go to college, get a job, like, everything's like almost like preset, like they tell you what you should do and how you
Exactly.
should live. And when you said that, it was like, man, we don't realize how deeply embedded it is in us when we're in it. And that's one of the reasons why, I share it, and I remind people how important it is to really get, even if it's not physically, like, because again, it took me years for me to actually do that decision. Like, it wasn't just like, leave. But I started with like spending more time in nature, going outside more, connecting with Gaia, and all of these different things. And that's something that we all can do, even if you're in a big city, even if right now you still have things to do in the 3D, world or system or whatever the case may be. Like, you can always find an opportunity to detach and be in nature more, be outside more, whatever the case may be, because those are like the really big activators that we start to go through, that will wake us up. And then, like you and me, when we took the decision to like leave the city, then we start to like really find the freedom that we didn't even know we could have. We didn't even know that existed. We didn't even know how programmed we were. Like, it's kind of a mind-blowing, like, oh my God, like, and I've heard this from, my like teacher of like, when you're in it, you don't even know that you're in it. Like, you don't even really know how you're programmed, and how you're like, kind of, I don't want to say it like this, but like on autopilot. We're like, we do things on autopilot, and we do things without thinking, and we just follow the rules, and we just follow the system, and we just follow all these things. So yeah, it was, when you said that, I'm like, oh my God, that's so true. Like, when you detach and you go out of the system, you start acting different, you start living different, you start perceiving things different, and everything just changes. And that's one of the reasons why I'm like, now that I've had an opportunity to live outside, I mean, so for me it's interesting, because even though I'm still here, I'm still back in like kind of a dense city, those 6 months that I was out in the rural community supported me so much, that I got to anchor more of the 5D new earth frequencies, and now I take them with me. So like, doesn't matter where I am anymore, I still get to live in that freedom, in that expansiveness, even while back in the city. But how did you, like, with kind of expanding more into this topic, how did your kids feel about, you're like, oh, they love it.
They really love it. They really do. They just love it. They love having this freedom. This is true freedom.
It feels like, well, because you said it was like a little bumpy at the beginning, but it felt like they were able to.
Specific plan, where to go, and just even realizing that we didn't need one.
Oh, sorry, you caught up at the beginning.
Sorry. Just realizing that we didn't need a specific plan on how to travel. was big realization from we could go wherever we wanted and we'd make whatever work. And just being programmed to think a certain way and then deprogramming yourself and the kids is kind of like, that's true freedom. That is the realizations right then and right there. And that is also what allows you to breathe a little bit better each night, just knowing that you're the one in control, and or not. So it was and like I said in the beginning, we probably just put the pressure on ourselves, like, where are we going to go? What do you want to see? What do you want to do? And we didn't even have to do that. We just got in and just started traveling. And hey, does that look like a cool spot to stay in, or to check out? Yeah or no? And that's just kind of how we navigated our reality, was probably more so feeling it out, what we felt like doing, and listening, and really listening with your heart, not just your mind. So that was a big one, but we did it.
You're doing it, man. Something important to kind of do is trust. The level of trust that you have to really start anchoring from within you and really start grabbing onto and like upholding and embodying feels, well, it is a huge part of this process. How has that been for you as you move, or like even like making this big decision? I mean, like when we talk about, like, there's a lot of big decisions that we have to make. So like you selling your house, me quitting my job, leaving the city, leaving the country that I've been living for so long. Those are big. Those are big decisions. They bring a lot of challenges. And at some level, each and every person has to be open enough and willing to do them, to jump, to like. And like I said, it took many years for me. Like, it did not happen overnight. But it was this constant process and preparation for me that, like, I knew it was going to happen. Deep down, I knew, I was like, I'm not meant to be here. I don't like, this job is like a temporary thing. Like, I knew it always. As soon as I got hired, my boss always knew that this was a temporary job. And even like my other boss, it was like, they knew. I was pretty open, like, because I knew it. I felt it. But during that time, it was like the preparation for me to be able to like just jump and just go all in. And so opening up to really anchoring more of this trust is huge. So how has that been? If you want to share a little bit of that.
Funny that you mentioned, you knew it was temporary, because when we bought our home, we knew it was a temporary. It was kind of, we all kind of described it. But it was a little nerve-wracking in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie, it was definitely a little nerve-wracking in the beginning, because you kind of just, you're so used to one way of living that going into a totally different way of life, it feels different. But we just knew that what we were doing felt good, even though it was, like I said, nerve-wracking in the beginning. We just needed to ease into it, and smooth things out. So in the beginning, we kind of did a week or two in a certain location, and traveled and learned about the area that we were in. but then that kind of felt like it was a little too much to pick up that off. So but then we started like 1 to 2 months in a location. And that's been wonderful. At least, a month or two, depending on your needs, or, whoever's needs, or whatever works for them. I just know that that works for us. So it's not as stressful, packing up the car and, driving and traveling, and, that the quickness, it felt like it's a little slower pace. So it's nicer. We're able to explore the area that we're in a little more in depth than when we first started out. So, and the kids, they go online and they'll find us really cool things to do. We do a lot of hikes and a lot of, we just last week we did a natural springs, and we learned about the springs that we were in, and it was really neat. And that's how they get their, a lot of their education is through our surroundings. They learned about the temperature of the water, and how the water gets its color, and that kind of stuff. So at first, like I said, pulling them out of traditional schooling, for me, it was a total jump, but I knew what we were doing was the right thing for our family. And the way that they're being schooled now is by world schooling, and you got to just take that leap and do it. And so far it's worked, and none of us could be happier. I love seeing the huge smiles on my kids' faces every day. I love it. I love being free. This is true freedom. It really is. And we're happy doing it. So again, what more could I ask for? What more could a mother ask for, or for their family? It's perfect.
Yeah, no, that's definitely important to be in a space where you're all in it together, and you're all navigating together, and you're all enjoying it, and like going with the flow, and just kind of opening up to be guided to wherever the wind takes you, kind of thing. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. This might be a good time to wrap it up. I haven't actually kept track of time. But this is perfect. And I wanted to, and I might probably be bringing you more and other people to just share, the experiences and the stories that we all can relate to, like at a deep level. Technically speaking, like we all have to do very similar things. When we talk about like making the big jump, taking the big risks that might seem like at the time, or, making the big decisions. And this feels like a lot more people are getting to that point, or have gotten to that point, even in the past couple of years. Like it's been more prominent for people to feel like, okay, we gotta change things, we gotta shift, we gotta make the big choices, we gotta take the big jumps, the big leaps of faith, the big quantum hops and stuff like that. And I just feel like it's just going to accelerate. It's just going to be more and more and more. People are being called to different places. People are being drawn to different things. People are quitting their job left and right, changing businesses, leaving partnerships, leaving relationships. I mean, it's a domino effect. And it's going to continue to increase and amplify and just bring through big changes. I mean, there's so much with that, but I feel it's important to share that people are definitely not alone. If you can relate to any of this, you're definitely not alone. We all have to go through it. We all have to go through the big kind of nerve-wracking things, but it is part of the process, and it builds It builds our strength, it builds our courage, it builds our pure power. And we have
it builds trust in yourself,
self-confidence, self-belief, everything, you name it. And again, it's part of no longer being in the system, no longer supporting the system, no longer conforming to that life. You know, and we all, it's our realities completely shift, completely transform. Like that is just a really normal part of the process. And I feel it's really important for people to just open up to and remember and realize. But the more they see that other people have done it, we're doing it, it's possible. Like, this is how we anchor heaven. This is how we get to access the earth. This is how we get to like experience more freedom and really break free. Like, it's all worth it. And so we're just kind of giving and gifting and like sharing the keys and codes so that more and more people feel confident in what they feel inside. It doesn't have to make any sense. People are going to question you. People are not going to understand you, and it's okay as long as you can feel that this is the right thing, that this feels appropriate, this feels aligned. That is literally all that matters, and that is all you can run with at the beginning and for a long time. So thank you so much for sharing your story. You know, for anybody that is watching this that has any questions or anything like that, you know, we're free. We're free and open book. You guys can also, you know, always share your experiences, ask, and if there's any other way that we can support you, we're definitely more than happy to. So we'll be putting some links below if you guys want to dive deeper with us and just, you know, be more supported in this journey. We're always open to doing that. I can say Jenny has hosted stuff with me and does things with me all the time. So I feel like, you know, just kind of bringing her along with this felt really appropriate. So thank you so very much, Jenny. We'll be diving deeper very soon. Thank you again for watching, guys, and until next time.
Thank you.